Welcome to People. I'm Shirley. Now, right now I'm in the office of In Motion Asia, and right beside me is Cam McLean, who is owner and director of In Motion Asia. Now, Cam is from New Zealand. He's been in Taiwan for 10 years, and he's a tall, active guy. Cam, you want to talk about what is In Motion Asia?
Yeah, hi there. Well, In Motion Asia is an outdoor adventure company. I started here in Taiwan around 2005, and we specialize in corporate team building events and adventure tours and road cycling. Also do youth programs for international schools, event management services, and plus we have a performance store selling some bikes as well. So
you do?
Where's
that store?
It's right in the back here. I can show you afterwards.
Okay.
So we basically do customized high-end road bike builds for customers around Taiwan and Asia.
But actually you don't just only do biking tours, you also do other kind of sportive activities.
Right, we actually, when I started In Motion Asia, we started doing mountain biking of all things, probably because that was my interest at the time, and over the years it's developed into much greater and diverse spread of activities. But the main key is the connection with the outdoors, and Taiwan having a wonderful outdoors, and so we utilize that resource that is right on our doorstep to create events for clients, being corporate or adventure or just a group of mates or whoever.
Is this what brought you to Taiwan?
No, it's one of those classic stories where I originally came to Taiwan thinking I would stay a week to see some friends, and that week turned into 10 years this summer. So
seriously?
I came to Taiwan not knowing pretty much anything about Taiwan, and then once arriving here, although I'd been in Asia for a number of years, but having arrived here and discovering how small the island was, it made sense to go around and have a look. And
but smaller than New Zealand.
It's smaller than New Zealand, yeah,
much smaller.
But spending that time going around Taiwan and just discovering that this island was really quite undiscovered in terms of what I knew, for one, and just had so much to offer in terms of the outdoor environment, and a big passion and love for the outdoors, and straight away it just got me thinking that there's a wonderful resource here that
really
could have some big potential.
But I know that you told me before you came to Taiwan you were doing construction.
Right, my background.
That's a big switch.
It's a huge switch, and I was in the construction industry for a number of years, working in Japan and Hong Kong and Australia and New Zealand. But it became it's a good industry, and you're able to travel with it and make good money, but it just wasn't satisfying for me. And the thought of spending the next 30 years working in that industry didn't really appeal to me, and so I made a decision to make a lifestyle change and a career change, and I didn't quite know what that was at the time, but and then I somehow ended up in Taiwan, and one thing led to another.
So you've actually lived for a period of time in all these other Asian countries that you've been? I
left New Zealand when I was in university, and I wasn't particularly focused at the time, as a lot of people are when they're straight out of school. And I had two good friends. They said, we're going to England. Would you like to come? And the New Zealand tradition is to do what we call the OE, which is the overseas experience. So when you're young, you go to somewhere like England, particularly England or Europe, and you spend a year, like a gap year, just getting
gap year?
Like a gap year in the US, where they take a year off to do some traveling and get some experiences and learn about life a bit more. So my friends were going to England. They said, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Sure." It sounded like a good idea at the time. And my sister was living in Japan at that time, so I had my flight go via Japan, and ended up staying there for 2 years. And
you mean you never made it to England?
I never made it to England, right? Never made it to England, believe it or not. But had a wonderful time in Japan.
Okay.
So I actually started when I was 19. Left New Zealand, started traveling, and 2 years in Japan, and then a year in Hong Kong.
How did you like Japan?
Japan was fantastic. And
Were you in Tokyo?
I was in Kanazawa, which is famous for the Kenroku-en Gardens, which is on the western side of Japan for a year, where my sister was.
Okay, all right. What was she doing there?
She was teaching. You know, she's
teaching English.
She was teaching English at the time with,
I get it.
with her girlfriends over there. So,
I see. I see.
And so I got a job working for a builder, building these 2x4 American-style houses. So that was my introduction to the building scene.
Well, you were lucky that you got that job in your field.
Well, that wasn't my fit. You know, when you're young, it was just more laboring on a construction site.
That wasn't what you studied?
Well, I didn't.
Construction?
I was half a year into university, so I was literally out of school and half a year into university, and then I decided to go traveling. So I guess I didn't really have any skill set at that time.
There was this construction job?
Well, it was just, you know, as you're traveling around backpacking, you know, you can work in bars or you can do some construction work or fruit picking or whatever. So being, you know, a biggish lad, I guess, you know,
Yeah.
I was suited to this type of work and I enjoyed the outdoors straight, you know, didn't want to be inside. So it made sense at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 years in Japan, in Kanazawa.
Right.
What next?
It was 1 year in Kanazawa and 1 year in Osaka, which was a much, much bigger city and the bright lights and that was a lot of fun. And then after that, I went to Hong Kong, which was 1996, the year before the handover, when it was still English-controlled colony. And at the time, they were building the new airport, Lantau, in
And you helped with
Hong Kong.
that?
So I got a job working on the airport there.
Was that the job that you had in Japan that introduced you to this job in Hong Kong?
It was the experience from working, introduction to the construction scene in Japan, and also meeting, and during that time doing some traveling and meeting some friends who also worked in the construction industry, and it was through one of those contacts that got me a job in Hong Kong working on this airport.
Have you always been this lucky all your life?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you know, I believe, you know, luck's what you make it, right?
Yeah.
And
Wow, that is so neat. Well, I lived in Hong Kong before.
oh, you did?
Yeah, during my elementary school years.
It's a fantastic place.
Yeah.
So I was on.
Okay.
You know, I would say Hong Kong was a defining point in my life in
Really?
terms of very hard work, long hours. Living with about 7 guys from England in a small backpacker kind of room, and just
During the whole time you were living in Hong Kong?
during the whole time I was living. Oh, we moved around a little bit, but it was, you know, used to do 12-hour shifts on a construction site, and we had about an hour traveling each way. So you're doing these 14-hour shifts, basically. Some very hard construction. We're doing waterproofing, which is probably one of the hardest construction jobs out there. But it was a great defining moment, just in terms of teaching a young kid the meaning of hard work and how to earn a living, look after yourself,
And you
the whole
were probably about
experience.
21, 22
I was about
at the
20, 22, I think going on around 21, 22 at the time. So,
So do you think it's the Hong Kong's hard-working mentality that got you used to Taiwan? Because of all places that you lived in Asia, you're staying the longest in Taiwan, am I right?
right. So,
What is about Taiwan that made you stay this long, and probably for many more years after this?
I think it was more a cycle that I went through as a kid, and as a lot of young people traveling around, where when you're traveling, you'll arrive somewhere and you'll find a job, save up some money, and then spend that doing some more traveling. And then when the money runs out, you'll do some more work.
That's not going to happen here, is
So
it?
no,
Well,
it's
your
not.
money's
Thank
going to
goodness.
run out, and then you're going to move somewhere else, and you're going to say bye-bye to you.
No, so that was a cycle I guess I went through for about 6 or 8 years. And I would spend probably about 2 years in a country, being Japan. Hong Kong was only a year. And then after that, Australia. So I went through this cycle. And then I got to a point, as you mature and grow older that you get a bit tired of spending all your money and ending up down here again and having to start again saving all your money. So it was kind of, at that point that I decided to go back to university. And at that time I was about 23, 24, and I thought, if I don't go back to university now, I possibly never will. So I really, got that mindset to this time save my money for study.
Okay.
And after Hong Kong, I went to Sydney as well, still working in the construction industry.
But studying at the same time?
No, just saving, purely saving money. And then I applied to enroll in university back in New Zealand. And with my experience having in Japan and Hong Kong and Australia, it was all in the construction industry. And, realizing you could make some pretty good money, and it was also enabled you to travel, I thought I'd like to extend my skill set within that industry. So I went back and studied construction management in Auckland in New Zealand, which is where my father lives also. So I was pretty determined at that age, at 23, and it was a 4-year degree, and my focus was to do the degree as quickly and as well as I could and get back out traveling again. So I condensed this 4-year degree into 3 years. And did pretty well, got the Dean's Scholar and top student in a couple of these classes. And I literally flew out the day after my last exam again.
So, you couldn't wait.
I couldn't wait. I had the travel bug, and 3 years sitting in one place was enough, so...
Okay. You're not a city guy, I guess. Being in Sydney, in a big city, you want to just get out as soon as you're done with studies.
Yeah, I was brought up in the city, but my sister lives in the countryside, who I used to go and see a lot. So I enjoy the excitement and the accessibility and the infrastructure of a city, but I definitely enjoy the peace and the adventure of the outdoors.
Okay.
So it's a mixture.
Taipei is not peaceful.
Well, it's
a busy, buzzing
It is,
city.
But compared to, say, a Shanghai or a Hong Kong or a Singapore.
You've been there too, Shanghai?
I've not living, but traveled through there. Taipei is quite a relaxed city compared to elsewhere, and that was half the attraction of Taipei when I first came here. But actually, Taipei is blessed. It's one of the few cities, I think, anywhere where you have this hustling, busy, great city, but you're surrounded by mountains and ocean, so you can very quickly get out of the city. And Yamingsan's just literally behind us. And whether you're into hiking or cycling or whatever, and enjoy the outdoors. So.
I always tell people that Taiwan's got a lot of the convenience because of 7-Elevens at every corner of the of the block and everything.
Right.
But actually, you're talking about convenience as in you're in the city, but only within minutes you can already get to the mountains or even the beach.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right.
I literally get on my bike and 5 minutes that way, I'm in the hills, working out.
Yeah, you found a good place for your office in Neihu.
Right.
Because it's, just like minutes off that way, it's the mountains, minutes off that way. Yeah, this is great. So, In Motion Asia, how did you think of that name, In Motion? So you're always on the move.
Yeah, when I came to Taipei and Taiwan and realized, wow, this country is totally unexpected for me in terms of the big mountains and being a compact country, very dramatic. And straight away I saw potential there to utilize the outdoors with my love of the outdoors as well. So, but In Motion Asia, I literally sat down and I must have spent about 2 days just brainstorming
by yourself,
a million different words by myself, and combination of different words, and Googling around and just putting different words together. And I liked In Motion because it's something that's moving. The motion, the definition of motion is moving, it's active. And also I wanted to connect to Asia, being seen as Taiwan is geographically located within Asia. So it was just, and then I came up probably with 10 different names and just emailed a bunch of friends and said, hey, what do you think? and I reached this one.
What was the very, very first tour that you took around?
And
now,
so,
I
yeah.
understand that what you do is actually, if anybody were to come traveling to Taiwan, they don't want to see the city. They don't want to go up on Taipei 101. They don't want to do the usual things. They want to go out and see the nature. That's when they come to you.
Well, we do all sorts actually. We also do the city stuff, and our corporate team building programs are predominantly based in a city or nearby, and that's exactly the type of thing we do. So,
but that's without bikes.
That's
so
without bikes,
what do you do
right?
Within the city, what kind of things?
Well, corporate team building programs can be anything from like the Amazing Race type concept. It can be sightseeing. It can be things like dragon dancing, or it can be sitting in a hotel room doing incentive-based team building activities. So the cycling is actually just a small component of what we do in terms of the cycling tours.
Now, your Chinese would have to be very good because I can see that you have to be constantly contacting Taiwanese organizations or companies or whatnot to arrange this kind of sightseeing trips.
Right.
And I understand that your company right now is only like two-person company.
We have two people full-time.
Yeah.
And also have about 15 freelance staff that we use for programs and make our team depending on the program.
They have their regular jobs.
And they have their regular jobs. So in the early days, it was me on a phone. So when I first came to Taiwan, I went to Chinese school for about a year, on and off, and got the basics down.